Yo, welcome to BPM with my good friend, Mr. Sam Dey. What's going on, man? Sam Dey, man. Great to have you back.
Hey, it's great to be back. It's great to be back. So thank you so much for the invite. Yeah, I'm doing well as you can be in the pandemic. But yeah, I'm doing great. How about yourself, man?
I'm good. Actually, you know what? Saying that about the pandemic, you guys have got it good over there, man. Like everything's open back up. You know, you can go to the theme parks, you can have fun again. Where I'm sitting at the moment, we're just going back into lockdown. so we got nothing exciting to talk about, like in that respect. Nothing. It's like, okay, what do you do? Stay at home.
I didn't realize you guys were still in lockdown, or is everything still closed for you?
Well, sorry, let me mute my phone. What the hell is that? Everything's not closed, but everything's on like an appointment basis. Okay. So basically you have to call them up and say, yeah, I'm coming, and then, you know, obviously no one's going out, but there's no theme parks open. Can't play football with your friends. You can't meet anybody. You got to be in by 9, but I heard they're going to push that to 8 now. So 8 o'clock, everyone has to be in the house.
Wow, that's crazy.
A curfew for a pumped up flu.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, man, it's not fun at the moment, man. It's definitely not fun. So anyway, you've been on the show before. I think people know you, but just give a quick rundown of who you are and what you do. Again, for the people who don't know.
So my name is Sam Dey. I am a digital marketing consultant and online entrepreneur. So I run a YouTube channel called Dey Tips, Deytips, where I basically educate entrepreneurs on how to best market their product or service online. So utilizing resources such as Facebook ads, SEO, creating a website using platforms such as WordPress. And I guess WordPress is the best platform, or Shopify, but you know, there's hundreds of thousands of people using platforms like Wix and Weebly and Squarespace. And so I help to kind of create educational content that helps those people out. I also produce online courses as well, helping literally tens of thousands of people have gone through my online courses. So yeah, that's basically what I do in a nutshell.
That's crazy, man. That's a lot of stuff, man. Where do you find the time to do all that, actually?
Actually, it is a lot that I do. I'm used to working a lot because the grind is kind of how I got here in the first place. So I'm used to putting in crazy hours. In fact, now I probably work less hours than I did a few years ago. So like my life kind of is what I do. Like I don't know how healthy that is, but like I feel a sense of purpose and identity when I'm achieving new things, when I'm doing well in business. I feel happier just in general in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now because I do it full time, it's kind of like a lot easier. So I'm not juggling it with a 9-to-5 job or a part-time thing. It's like, this is my main thing. So yeah, it feels easier to manage.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about as well. It's like, obviously I'm working the 9 to 1, not really. Actually, it's kind of a 9 to 5 actually at the moment. And I'm actually thinking, man, it's time for me to jump off that boat and especially get into like stocks and investing. So that's what I'm going to do, because I really need to free up some more time so I can focus on like this stuff, you know, the important. I think this is way more important than me going to a job and wasting 8-9 hours there and doing nothing, you know what I mean? Twiddling thumbs.
I feel like it's a balance. So when I first started, I've been in business for 10 years now. And when I first started, I knew it was, you have to kind of have that self-awareness as well and know what it is that you need. And I knew that I didn't have the knowledge because I had no mentorship. I had no experience. I had no idea what I was doing. So I knew I needed time. So for me, I always picked jobs that would help me in some way to progress towards the career that I wanted, which was to be self-employed. So funny enough, we spoke about theme parks being open. So one of my first jobs was at Fort Park.
Okay.
And I deliberately picked the sales role where I was having to sell fast track tickets. And sometimes you have to go outside rides and, you know, try and sell fast track tickets. You weren't allowed to leave your shift until you sold all of them.
Really?
Yeah. So that kind of taught me how to sell, what I needed to say to sell and stuff like that. And, you know, cashing up and using the till and stuff like that. I knew I would need that information when I was full-time in my business. So I often picked jobs like that, but also I picked hours that would allow me to, I didn't need to live a lavish life. I didn't need a fancy car or, you know, I made sure that, like, I used to take the bus to work. So Fort Park was like, it was a really long way away from where I lived. And you could take the train, it would take you half an hour, but I used to take the bus, which would take me 3-4 hours sometimes to get into work. Because I knew that I would save money. And whilst I was on the bus, I was working on my business, planning stuff. So I was using the time effectively. So yeah, I kind of like grinded whilst I wasn't full-time. And so it prepared me for when I was full-time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the same philosophy I used, actually. That's why I did quite a lot of security jobs, because I knew I could sit in a building, and most of the time I had a job where I was alone, so there was no one bugging me, and I could just learn all my stuff, you know what I mean? And be like, yeah, man, I'm getting paid to learn. So when people used to ask me, what do you do? I'd be like, I just learn at work. They never really knew I did security. I was like, I just learn at work. So when was the moment you kind of found out, like, because you're a young guy, you ain't that old. You've been here for 10 years, so you realize pretty quickly, okay, I ain't gonna, these 9-to-5 jobs, being a bank teller or whatever, you aim for you. So when did you realize I'm gonna do like marketing, I'm gonna be self-employed?
Good question. So I started when I was around I started in business when I was about 17.
See, look at that. That's the use quick. Did you have like a dad or someone who was like, don't do that, son?
Nah, I had nobody. Well, my mum, to be fair, my mum was very entrepreneurial. And she's had to like withstand a lot of pressure just in life in general. Certain situations she's had to battle with, like financially, health-wise. And I kind of saw her just kind of always trying. And there were times she would be working multiple jobs, and I would always try and help out. Like whether it be like, I have a podcast with my brother as well. I think you've seen it. I love it. I talk about like the struggles that we went through as kids, and I would sell sweets at school and stuff like that, and make a £10, make a £15 profit or whatever it is, and put it in my mum's purse at night, because I knew she wouldn't take it from me. So I would just push it in her purse. And my mum's a praying woman as well, so she would have looked at the purse and thought,
it was Jesus.
Jesus came down at night and pushed some money. Maybe it didn't even help. Maybe it didn't go far at all. But in my mind, I felt like I was doing my best to contribute. So I started at 17, and I just tried a lot of things and failed a lot of times as well. But I think in business, you have to learn there's two things. Firstly, you have to fail fast. The quicker you fail, the quicker you can get to what's going to actually work, and not dwell on what's failing. Because I knew I was going to fail a lot because I didn't know anything. So I was like, let me just try loads of things. And then the second thing was kind of like just always getting better and improving, even if it's incrementally. So if I had done something and failed, but okay, cool, what lesson can I take from that? And the next time do it a little bit better, and so on and so forth. But yeah, it was, I would say my life kind of started to change in my final year of university. That was when I got into e-commerce, and it was because the business I was running at the time. So I was working at Fort Park. I also had an office job. I had an offline business called Purple Soul Arts, but it wasn't generating profit. So I was kind of like basically pumping money into the company, and I was full-time university as well. So I wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't generating any profit. So I said to myself, look, I'm going to take this third year, to focus on my studies. You know, I'm going to quit all my jobs. I'm going to put the business on hold. And what, you know, in my mind, I was like, okay, I've got a year to finish uni, but I've got the rest of my life to run my business. So I said, look, I want to put the business on hold for a year, just get through my final year, and then you know, continue afterwards. What ended up happening was I said to myself, well, I need some sort of income. So I'm going to start selling products on Amazon and eBay. It was like a eureka moment for me. Yeah. And I thought I was just going to make enough money to get to university, maybe buy lunch, and then get home, you know, train and whatever, put petrol in the car. I think I was driving at that time as well. But the business ended up doing extremely well. And I was turning over like $1,000 a week within the first 4 to 6 months or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. And for me at the time, you know, having working like a shift job where I'm used to getting like £5 an hour or £6, all of a sudden you're turning over like $4,000 a month, and you're like, whoa, like this is crazy. And I've just started. So that was kind of where I got my taste of the online world, and where I was like, wow, I don't think I'm ever going to have to work again. Well, not for anybody else anyway. And yeah, my life completely changed after that.
So Amazon, actually, first of all, you went studying e-commerce. So you kind of fell pretty much straight in. See, you had a level head straight away, man. You knew, like, I'm going to do something financial.
Do you know what it is? I was very aware, and this is kind of like, it might be cliche, but obviously talking to you, I know you'll understand, but I've always been aware that I'm a black man. And being younger, I was very aware that I was a young black man and the stigma that was attached to that. So I have a story of like one of my best friends when I was growing up, he suffers with bipolar disorder. And sometimes he would be in hospital. And there was one occasion where I went to see him, and the security guard wouldn't let me in without being searched. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to search you for drugs. And his other family members that go to see him, not only do they not get searched for drugs, they don't get searched at all. They just walk in and walk out. But the interesting thing is his dad his dad is a white male, but his dad actually smokes weed. I've never done drugs before in my life. I've never had a cigarette. So it's actually ironic, because if anyone was going to bring drugs in, it was more likely to be some of his family members than it was me. And that's just one example, but there's many examples, and some in the workplace as well, where I felt that I was definitely judged because of the color of my skin, or looked down upon or frowned upon. So I always felt like in order for me to succeed in life, I was going to have to do it myself. And so that was kind of like my biggest driving force. I was well aware that if I don't work my butt off as a black male, then absolutely nothing is going to come to me. And so I've kind of had to have that drive of waking up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and working, you know, late to the midnight hour, just to kind of make my stamp in the world, kind of thing.
I shall tell you one thing that would have came to you: the cops. They would have came to you eventually.
For definite, 100%.
For nothing, you don't have to do nothing. You're just driving down the road. The cops will be there. Yo, what are you doing in this car? I'm just driving. All right, you're under arrest.
Exactly.
Okay, so Amazon. What would you there's people who probably want to know, what would you sell it, man? How do you make a grand? Because like even me, I'm interested. I'm like, yo, give me some tips, man. I need to get out of my job. So how did you find your products to say, okay, I'm going to sell that? Or where did you get your tips from, basically?
By the time I started selling online, I'd already had a little bit more business acumen. And so all of the offline failures that I had helped me online. And I think that's why I was more successful online, because even though I was new to online, I used all of my past experience of running an offline business to now run my online business in a better way. So I think it's Theo Prophetus, like, who says it in one of his books that I've read. And he's like, smell what sells. And literally that's the aim of the game, particularly when it comes to e-commerce. Like, you don't have to guess when it comes to selling products online, but there's so much evidence that can help you to determine what products are going to sell well. So literally the first thing I did was go to eBay. And as simple as it sounds, you go to eBay and you search for, like, for example, it might be, let's say you want to start selling like an airbed. So you go to eBay, you type in airbed, and eBay will give you signs. It will say, oh, this particular listing has sold 50 in the last 24 hours, or this one has sold 10 in the last 5 minutes, or whatever it is. You click on that, and if you're doing it on your laptop, there will be a clickable number that says X amount sold. You click on that number and it will show you how many units of that product has been sold. And if you're seeing, well, like, this person sold 10 yesterday of this product, then you know that's a hot in-demand product. I didn't have to pay for that research. I didn't have to do much. That took me 5 seconds to do. And if you're doing that for hours and hours and hours and hours, you're eventually going to stumble across some gems that can make you an extra £100 a month, £200 a month. Some might be complete gems that make you an extra 500 to 1,000 a month. But then also the other key to that is, what is the competition like? Because this is what a lot of people get wrong. They have a product that's in demand, but it's a saturated industry. Yep. So you put your product in there and it's not selling because you're competing with way too many people. So it's about trying to find that sweet spot of a product that is high in demand, but doesn't have too much of a competition on eBay, so that you can slot right in there and take a percentage of the market share, really. And where I see a lot of people go wrong is they either don't do their market research, so they have no idea what the demand is for that product. If I see, for example, there's a listing on eBay that's selling 10, or let's say it's selling 1 a day. So that's on average 30 a month. So I'm not going to go and buy 1,000 units of that product, because I'm not going to sell it, because it's only selling 30 units a day, 30 units a month. So I'm going to say, okay, it's selling 30 units a month on average. I feel like I can sell, maybe I feel like I can do better than this guy. Maybe I can do 3 a day. Then I'm going to buy maybe 200 units for the year, or, I'm going to use that initiative. Some people would just way overbuy products and it's, the demand isn't there for it. Or they wouldn't do their research at all and there's no demand for this product. And the most frustrating thing is when someone has done no research, they just bought a product, or they just made a product, and they come to me and they say, Sam, I need to market it. And I'm like, well, there's no demand for it. So marketing starts before you start selling.
Did you never drop ship then? Or was it just like you thought, I got £1,000, I'm going to just buy 1,000 products and then sell that for profit? So is that called leveraging, isn't it? It's called leveraging.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit of drop shipping. I never did it hard, but I did. I'm not like one of these guys who's like, yeah, I did £100,000 a month drop shipping. Yeah. Like, I'm not that.
That's rubbish.
I'm not that guy. And like, I know there's people out there who do that, but I more so did it because I wanted to stop being so like manual labor with my business. I wanted my business to be a little bit more automated. So whilst I was building my Day Tips brand, I stopped selling I stopped selling my products as much, because I was trying to transition from being Sam, the e-commerce business owner, to being Sam, the Day Tips marketing guy that I am now. But obviously it takes a while to build that, so it's making money. So within the transition, I was doing less physical products and I was doing some drop shipping. I might be making like £30 a day or £50 a day. It wasn't something major that I was doing. But I was drop shipping like sofa beds and fridges and ovens, and not on a major scale, but I've definitely done it. I think the major opportunity that I see with drop shipping is as a market research tool. Yeah. So let's say there's a product that you want to potentially buy in bulk and start selling online. and you feel like there's the demand there and there's not too much competition there, then rather than buying 100 units of that product, just drop ship it, even if it's at a loss. So, and I used to do that as well. So I used to drop ship, even if it's at a loss, and let it run for like a week, 2 weeks. And if I'm noticing like I've sold 30 of this item in the last 2 weeks at a loss or at a break even, now I know that there's the demand there and I can sell it. Let me now go and buy this wholesale, and I know it's going to sell. It's not just going to be dead stock in the basement 5 years from now that I never sold. So it's just these little tricks that people can use to like be successful online.
All right, man. That sounds good, man. So you mentioned Ophiuchus.
Theoprophetus, yeah.
Yeah, is that a book?
So
he's the right author.
He's a dragon from the Dragon's Den. So I remember when I was younger, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had no idea what I was doing. I used to watch Dragon's Den every single day. I used to watch it coming home from school, and I used to be like, man, I don't want to be on Dragon's Den. I want to be a dragon. And when I used to watch like what's the other one called with
Trump? Was Trump? Yeah, was he part of the? Was Trump a part of the Apprentice?
The Apprentice America one, but then the UK one is the one I used to watch.
Yeah, okay.
And I used to be like, man, I want to be the guy who's saying you're fired. Like, I don't want to be like, I wanted to be Silent Sugar. I didn't want to be one of their candidates. Like, so my ambitions have always been quite high. So I always read their books and read financial books, and that's kind of where I got a lot of my knowledge from. If it wasn't practical knowledge from me actually doing stuff in marketing, it was me just reading a hell of a load of books and taking courses and stuff. Okay. So yeah.
Can you give me, like, apart from Rich Dad Poor Dad, which everyone's read, anybody's read Rich Dad Poor Dad, can you give me another 2 or 3 books that you would recommend for people to read? Could you think of 3 now? Or
let me think. I think some of the, in terms of marketing, I would recommend some of Russell Brunson's books.
Okay.
Because I mean, the guy just understands marketing in a way that I think a lot of people would be able to benefit from. And I think when you separate the marketing that he's doing from the book itself, then you get more from it. So like when I read these kinds of books, I read the books from some of the best marketers in the world. So I try not to necessarily just learn from the content itself. And I think this is what people, well, especially when you're in business, like the person who wrote that book, it's not for charity, you know, they're trying to make money from this book.
Yeah, sure.
So you need to look at, read the book for what it is, but how did that person sell it to you? Like, what was the title of the book? What platform did they put it on? What sales process did they take you through? So there's one thing reading what someone does and then looking into what someone does. And I think that's where I've kind of learned the most, because sometimes you don't realize by buying and reading someone's book, they've marketed and sold to you. Yeah. And the strategies they've used to market and sell to you might not even be in the book, you know, but just by looking at what they've done is a more effective way. But I think Russell Brunson, some of his books are really good. So I'd recommend that.
I'm looking at these titles here. It's like .com secrets, traffic secrets, expert secrets. So, you know, something about the word secret is, you know, I feel like buying it right now. I'm like, there's a secret in there, man. I need to get it. So it's pulling on you, like, your curiosity, you know, it's a secret.
Exactly. Man. And one of the, like, well, this goes into sales copy, but a good sales copy technique is to make people feel like there's an exclusive club.
Yeah.
So if I'm like, let me share the secrets that, you know, the biggest gurus in the world are not sharing with you. And if I say that, then all of a sudden everyone's ears are creeping up. It's like, I want to know what's going on in that exclusive club. It's like when you're in school, everybody wants to know what the what do they call it? The teachers. What's the room that the teachers?
It's a teacher's lounge. It's not called a teacher's lounge. Is it called a teacher's lounge?
Everyone wants. All of the kids are curious. Like, what goes on in there? Like, it's probably so boring.
Smoking.
Yeah, exactly. But everyone wants to know because it's a secret club that only a certain amount of people know about. So if you can make your landing pages or your product or your service sound like it's exclusive in some way, then that could potentially help to pique interest.
Could just like call your landing page, the teacher's lounge, and everyone get a lot of school kids in it, teenagers signing up to your stuff. Okay, so there's always like obviously some marketing. There's marketing. And then that's my biggest question. I'm like, whenever I speak to somebody, someone's like, I'm going to do something. I always want to know what's your marketing angle. Because you could, I don't know, you could sell, this is like a jar of herbal tiger balm. You could sell this to 1 million people if your marketing's correct. So I'm always asking people, what is the best marketing angle whenever you're going to market anything? Because I guess you could probably use the same blueprint for everything, actually, just wording it a little bit, tweaking it.
I think a lot of people focus so much on trying to sell that they completely alienate their customer.
Yeah.
And the customer is the most important thing. And so a lot of people like, oh, we need to get 100,000 sales this month, or we need to get 10,000 sales, or we need to be making £1 million this year, or whatever, which in my opinion is just the wrong way to go about marketing. Because like, in order for you to generate that money, it starts with the customer. The customer is the most important thing. So if you keep the customer top of mind, then you're always going to do better in sales. And one of the things I constantly say in my videos is that the better you know your customer, the easier it is to sell to them.
Yeah.
If someone knows you and likes you and trusts you, then they're going to buy from you. And I think that's why we have celebrities. Like, celebrities make money because their followers like them.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest celebrities in the world, if I think about like, if there's a movie and it has like a big superstar like Will Smith in there, the movie's going to sell more because people know him and people like him and they like him in certain movies. Whereas if I was in a movie, like maybe a few marketing people would watch it, but it's not going to have the pull that someone like him would have. So the very first thing that you need to do is understand your customer. Yeah. And that needs to be the basis of your marketing. So, like that, I'm not sure what it was that you had in your hand just there, but my first thing would be, okay, let's say you're selling, I don't know, a Jamaican sorrel, which is Jamaican drink or whatever. So you need to understand who is it that's going to buy that? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Like, who is it that's actually going to buy this? Is it people who are from the they have Caribbean descent, but they're from the UK? Okay, cool. That's your target customer. So what drinks are they currently drinking? Why are they drinking those drinks? What is the branding like? What shops are those drinks in? What things do they search for in Google? Because obviously you're going to want to optimize your website for those searches. You're going to want to create ads in Google for those searches. Is there a particular type of content that these people watch on YouTube? Because when it comes to content marketing, if you know that people from the Caribbean who are here in the UK want your drink, you then need to think, okay, cool. Are they health conscious? Maybe they're thinking about things that they can drink or eat that will be healthy for them. You're going to want to create maybe a Caribbean recipe YouTube channel for these people, because that it's not directly selling to them, but it means you're doing what's known as inbound marketing. You're pulling them in. So you're creating content that your target customer is going to find valuable. And in doing so, you're building trust with them. So in your videos, you can promote your products, you can promote your services, because you're creating content that is actually going to be beneficial to your target customer. Yeah. So you really need to do your research, figure out what your target customer want and need, figure out what is already in the market and how you can compete with that. And if you keep your customer top of mind, you're always going to do well.
What's your opinion on cold calling? Just basically, I guess you can cold call, not just at the door, but you can probably write people emails, just friend people on Facebook and be like, hey man, I got this thing. What's your opinion on that?
That's more of an outbound marketing approach where you're kind of like reaching out directly to your customer. And I don't think that's a bad thing if you're doing it targeted in a targeted way. And it also depends on what type of product or service it is you have to offer, because I definitely work with some brands and they're not looking for a mass market. So for them to like start a YouTube channel doesn't make much sense, because they're not going to there's not a lot of people who are interested in their product, but the few people who are is going to bring in a lot of revenue for them. So it might be better for them to reach out to CEOs directly, or if you're like targeting schools, for example, it might be best to just kind of like cold outreach and see if you can, you know, go to certain events and network and build a name in that way. It doesn't mean all of the time that you won't do some of the other marketing things that I teach. But I don't teach outbound marketing approaches per se, but it definitely can work as well. So doing a mixture of both, why not?
I think you should utilize all options towards like your business whenever, if it's available, of course. Like for example, I got this podcast, BPM, Black Uplifts, and I don't know if it makes sense for me to go and write to everybody, say, hey, listen to my podcast. Sometimes it does actually. Sometimes I send out of like a mass email on like a particular video, and then like I'll see that maybe 50 people more have watched it, and I'll be like, oh, so actually kind of does work. I don't do it all the time though, because I'm always scared about this whole thing of spamming, you know, and I think they might just be like, who's this guy, man? I'm going to put him in the junk. so yeah, once a month's enough, I guess. Okay, so marketing done. Traffic, it's the next big thing, because you got behind you, it says traffic conversion sales. It's also one of the things that everyone's always asking, how to get more traffic. And do you subscribe, sorry, before you answer that, do you subscribe to the idea that you should always put money into traffic?
It really depends. Like, I think a lot of people overhype a lot of stuff. And so I've definitely worked with like, well, I'll put it this way. I generate a lot less traffic than some other people, and I probably make a lot more money than they do. And so traffic definitely doesn't tell the whole story. No. So I was recently on a live where I was talking about like Facebook ads, and it was a lady called Vina V that I do videos with, and she was telling me that she paid quite a lot of money to go on a course about like how to run YouTube ads, basically. And there was a lady, I can't remember the exact figures, but it was something along the lines of like she was making like, let's say £100,000 a year advertising with YouTube ads, but she was spending like 99,000 a year to accumulate that. So she was only really making like a grand profit or something like that. So like traffic can become expensive if you're not looking at your analytics. And also it doesn't take a lot of traffic to make a lot of money. Which I think a lot of people are confused about. Like, if you have a bad product, then no amount of traffic is going to solve that. If you have a bad landing page, no amount of traffic is going to solve that. The best way to accumulate traffic is, like I said at the beginning, is to actually have a product that people want and people will flock to it. That's what I did with eBay and Amazon. I didn't pay for any traffic when I was making £1,000 a week.
Okay.
And even now, I hardly pay for traffic, but I still get business. Like I'm doing in the last year, you know, I've done work with LinkedIn, I've done work with Squarespace, I've done work with multiple companies, and I've hardly run any paid traffic campaigns to acquire, you know, this business. And last year I did like, you know, $6,000 months, $10,000 months in my business, and I would spend maybe like £300-400 on traffic. So it's not always about spending money on traffic. It's about kind of just knowing what you're doing, kind of thing. So traffic is important. You know, without traffic, without anybody seeing your product or your landing page or whatever it is, no one can buy. But it's definitely more about getting the right eyeballs. So I'd rather drive 100 people to a landing page who are likely to convert than 1,000 people who are just the wrong audience. So you really need to figure out, like, even with like, so people who are doing like Google ads, for example, search intent is so important. Yeah. So if you're, like I said, going back to the airbed example, if you're trying to sell an airbed, and you're paying for keywords of like how to get a good night's sleep, if you're showing up for how to get a good night's sleep, and this can happen because with Google ads, you have kind of like with like different keyword match types, basically. So you can be using, for example, like a phrase match keyword and showing up for really irrelevant keywords. So yeah, you're driving loads of traffic through your Google ads, but it's not going to convert because someone who's looking for a good night's sleep is not necessarily looking for a sofa bed.
Yeah.
So you want to, that's going to bring a lot of traffic in, but it's not going to convert well at all. So yeah, it's definitely about where is this traffic coming from? Is it a high quality traffic source? I always recommend people buy your traffic from YouTube ads, from Google ads, from Facebook ads, Instagram ads, a reputable traffic source. And then after that, your targeting is super important. Who are you targeting? If you're running ads on Facebook or Instagram, running retargeting ads is at the moment one of the most highly effective way to run ads. And this is not just from the ads I run, but I'm privileged enough to have clients as well in many different industries. And I've seen like great results when someone is running ads against an audience that already know them, whether that be their email list or retargeting ads from, like pixel retargeting. And it's kind of getting complicated here, but like, if you like read my free ebook, which I'm kind of promoting, but not promoting, I genuinely speak about that stuff in there, kind of thing, to help break it down so it doesn't sound so complicated. So yeah, it's all about quality of traffic, where the traffic's coming from, targeted traffic, and then the second aspect to that is how well can you convert that traffic.
I like that idea of retargeting ads because I heard about that somewhere before. I've never really done it myself. Like, for example, for this web page, the Facebook page of Black Uplift and stuff, I've got a lot of people who obviously follow the page. But I never really thought, when I try and do run an ad on, like, I need new people, instead of focusing on the people who are already in the, have already liked the page or whatever, or follow it. That's a good piece of knowledge, man. That's really nice.
And I'll share this as well really quickly. Like, when you think of some of the most successful e-commerce brands of our time, they rely heavily on repeat business. Yeah. Like Amazon are so successful because we constantly buy from them. We buy all the time from them. So, you're fooling yourself if you think that you need to rely on new business. Like, it's very expensive and time consuming to acquire a new customer. So when someone does buy from you or does land on your page, you need to do everything within your power to get them to buy again or to get them to come back to your site again. And so a throwaway tip to anyone who generates a lot of sales or customer interest through Instagram, for example, you can actually run ads against your Instagram followers. And for the brands that I've worked with who do have like 2K or more Instagram followers, they've seen a drastic improvement in their online ads just by doing that.
No, man, it's awesome. Thanks for that tip, man. I'm sure the listeners are grateful, man. They're like, yo, it's great advice. Okay, so the next thing would be SEOs. You hear these three initials being branded around everywhere. SEOs. I haven't figured it out yet. I can't figure it out. I don't know if I do it by accident. I just can't figure it out. Can you shed some light on SEOs for us?
So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And when you think of SEO, immediately a lot of people think Google. But SEO is super important for e-commerce as well, because that is one of the ways in which I was able to gain success on eBay and Amazon, and technically YouTube as well, which is where I've built my biggest audience. So SEO, however, it needs to kind of be put into perspective, because some people are working on SEO as like their main driver of traffic, when really and truly they could get potentially shorter term success, because SEO is kind of like a longer term game. Like, if I was to start an e-commerce business today and I create a website for certain competitive keywords, it might take me a few weeks, maybe even a few months, in some cases maybe even a few years, to show up for certain keywords in Google. And so, yeah, sometimes when I'm sitting down with someone who wants me to do, or who wants advice on SEO, I want a fuller understanding of their whole business to see whether or not it's worth their time focusing all of that time and money on SEO when they could be driving immediate traffic to their site using Google ads or, Facebook ads or something like that. That being said, though, like SEO is pretty simple, especially if you are a local business. If you're someone who has a restaurant, or you're a barber, or you rely on local business, then definitely SEO is something that you should kind of prioritize highly. A platform called Google My Business. If you go to Google and type in Google My Business, you'll find it. You can kind of like create a Google My Business account, and that allows you to get found. Like, when you're doing a search on Google, say if you're in a certain area and you search for restaurants near me, and it will show you all of those restaurants. The restaurants that show up are the restaurants that have a listing in Google My Business.
No.
So you can get directions to that business. You can phone them up. You can go directly to their website. So you kind of, it's important to register for that. And also business directories as well. So any of the big business directories like Yelp and Yelp and stuff like that, and some of the industry ones as well, like if you're a builder or something like Trust the Trader or whatever industry directories, these are really good as well, because sometimes if someone is searching for builder in whatever area and you're listed in the directory, sometimes your directory listing can actually show up in Google as well. And because these directories like Yale.com have a high authority in Google, they're established, they have a high domain authority. Sometimes those listings can actually outrank your own website, at least initially as well, whilst you build authority. Because obviously Google are they are protective over their reputation.
Yeah, sure.
So if we go to Google and we're typing stuff in and we're getting rubbish websites all the time, then eventually we're going to stop using Google, and that's going to be extremely bad for business for Google. Yahoo is going to end up being the number one search engine in the world. So you kind of you kind of have to prove to Google that your website deserves to be ranked in the position that it's ranked for the keywords that you want to show up for. You have to prove, and one of the ways to do that is to work on your domain authority and kind of getting other websites to link to you, building high authority backlinks and all of this stuff. And I think one of the major keys, like there's so much to talk about with SEO, but one of the major keys is the type of keywords that you're going for. So as a new website, as a small website, you might not have a lot of authority yet, but you can get these short-term wins with SEO if you go for like the low-hanging fruit keywords, which in the SEO world is known as long tail keywords. So if you're going back to my airbed example, if you are selling an airbed and you want to rank in Google for the keyword airbed, then it's very unlikely as a new website you're going to be competing with Amazon, with eBay, with airbed.com, and all of these websites that have been here for years, who have probably 100 members of staff just working on SEO. Like, you're not going to compete with that. So you need to kind of like try and find longer tail keywords, keywords that have a little bit more detail. So where to find the best airbed, obviously that's more of a content keyword. So you might want to turn it into a blog article. And then when you're creating that blog article, you can link out to your product pages. And also, you can find those kind of longer tail keywords using platforms like answerthepublic.com, which is a free website you can use to find keywords. You can use Longtail Pro, but that is not a free platform, but it kind of just, if you type in airbed in Longtail Pro, it will show you a lot of long tail keywords that are associated with that keyword that you can utilize. And another free way is like auto suggest in Google. So when you start typing something into Google, it will try to predict what you're trying to say. So you can use that as a way to kind of like create longer tail keywords as well. And just lastly, so I know I said a lot, but lastly, you have a keyword, you have to kind of remember that Google rank individual web pages, not entire websites.
Mm.
So when you search for something in Google, you get a page, the most relevant page on that website to whatever it is you search for. So that means the more pages you have on your website and the more blog articles you have on your website is the more opportunity you have to rank for different keywords. So that's why I encourage people, even if you have an e-commerce site which only sells one product, is have a blog, because a blog allows you to create loads of content, and every piece of content is a new article that can be found in search. And that's how you really, over time, build up your traffic in the search engines. But if you're creating a page today and you want that page to be optimized for best airbeds for sleeping, then that keyword needs to be in the URL. It needs to be in the H1 tag and the H2 tag.
Yeah.
And it sounds complicated, but it's not. Like if you're using WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, just look for where it says heading 1. When when you're doing your text, editing your text, it will say heading 1 or H1. Just use that font, and your keyword should be in there, heading 1 and heading 2.
Yeah.
And make sure you use the keyword throughout your text as well. And don't be afraid to use variations of the keyword as well. You don't have to use it the exact same way all the time. Make sure it's in your meta description and your meta title. And yeah, Bob's your uncle. It's SEO.
Yeah, I was doing some research on it as well, man. Oh, thanks for that, by the way. And I came across black hat SEOs. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, those techniques. It's really difficult now to try and game the system.
Yeah.
Google. It's so bad to the point where if you try black hat SEO and you get caught,
you're done.
Even if you get rid of the website and you no longer use that website, obviously you might just, like, the domain name goes back into the stratosphere and anyone can buy that domain name. Yeah. So if I now buy that domain name, now I might struggle in Google because that domain name is attached to the black hat techniques that the person using it before was using. So that's how deep it is. Like, they can mix up the whole domain name. So you have to kind of do a check sometimes on the domain names that you buy that no one's used it for black hat SEO, because that can actually impede your ability to rank in search, which has nothing to do with you, but that's how deep black hat SEO can get.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. All right. What we do for time? Yeah, we got a couple of minutes. So you got a pretty successful YouTube channel. Just quickly going off to YouTube. How long you had a YouTube channel? How long?
I've been on YouTube roughly 6 years now.
Okay, 6 years. Yeah. Would you say that trying to build a YouTube channel is harder today than it was back 6 years ago?
No.
Do you think it's easier?
I think it's just as hard. I would say it's just as hard. I mean, obviously, if like the best time to start a YouTube channel was like when it started, but the second best time to start is now. And I think it's saying that it's harder now or that it's difficult now or whatever, in my opinion, is just an excuse for people not to create content.
Yeah, that's true.
Because when YouTube becomes even more, like, it's difficult for us to think of YouTube becoming even more of a part of our lives, but it will do. And when it becomes even more of a part of our lives, we'll be saying, oh, we should have got into it in 2021. Now that it's 2040, it's too late now. So people are always going to use that as an excuse. But you have to think about the way we use YouTube as consumers, and how beneficial that is. So even you saying, like, I have a successful YouTube channel, it depends how you define success. So a lot of people would look at my channel and think, oh, he doesn't get a lot of views, or he hasn't got 100,000 of subscribers, or he doesn't have this or doesn't have that. But as a YouTuber who's reached 10,000 subscribers, I've been to the YouTube space and I've been able to interact with other YouTubers who have the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they're still having to work a 9 to 5 because they're not making any money or hardly any money from their channel. So for me, it's not about, okay, getting loads of views. It's more about creating business opportunities. Like I've said, I listed a lot of companies I've worked with, like the Squarespaces, the Wix, the Printifys, for those of you who do drop shipping. I'm currently working with UDroppy, LinkedIn. And the reason why I name drop all of these companies is because they all found me through YouTube. And so, and this brings in finances for me. And there's so many different ways to monetize YouTube. So I make money from AdSense, from affiliate marketing, passively, from sponsorship deals, from what else? Selling my own products and services. So like, there's times where I take time off of work, and that might even be my most profitable month in the whole year. Simply because a lot of my income is passive. So YouTube is a way to kind of like, create passive income, create passive traffic that comes to your website. And if you're doing the right kinds of things to optimize that traffic for conversions, then it's a great tool. It's an amazing tool.
Could even get a boxing match out of it.
Hey, I would. I mean, the box. If you can get a boxing match out of it and make some money with that, then great.
Have you noticed that's the new craze at the moment? YouTubers calling other YouTubers out. Let's have a boxing match. I think it was like the weekend. Jake Paul versus some Ben Askren, and to be honest, just a sidetrack. The way this geezer came into the fight, I was like, he's been paid. He's looking to get in and get out as quickly as possible. And exactly that happened, man. He got punched out in 30 seconds. I was like, I made a cool $500,000, $500,000, really for 30 seconds. I was like, this geezer.
Yeah. It's crazy.
so that's of course, if nothing else works, anyone who's trying to make it a YouTube space, just be a boxer.
Call somebody out.
Yeah. Just quickly, man. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Let's quickly tell us a little bit about Mad Ting. How did that start?
So that is a side hustle project at the moment. It's kind of started in a similar way that Day Tips started, to be fair. In the sense that, it was kind of birthed out of lockdown. So when the first lockdown in the UK happened, I moved back in with my family because I just didn't want to be alone at the time. And myself and my younger brother, we've always been talking about starting a podcast together. So, we had more time on our hands, so we just did it. And we've kind of been, when we did it at first, we didn't know if it was something that was going to continue. We just started for the laugh of it, to be fair. But then we started putting it out. We started getting a lot of positive feedback, and even people who like I speak to, but I haven't spoken to in years. Like I was on the phone to my friend the other day, and he was like, "Oh man, I've been watching your podcast." And I'm like, "Oh wow, is it?" Like I didn't even know. And he's like, "Yeah, man, it's so funny and it's so it's interesting and whatever." So we were just like, well, if people are liking it, then let's just continue putting the videos out.
Yeah.
So at the moment it's kind of like a passion project. We enjoy doing it. And we're kind of just regularly trying to pump out content, and it's a sigh of relief for me as well, because I'm used to just being so marketing. Yeah. Now I have an outlet to speak about other topics that I don't really
about. Definitely, that's why I did this, man, because I was like, I'd like to talk about, I'm a guy with full of knowledge and ideas and creativity, and I'm like, man, I need to be able to express this, man, and talk to people, like-minded people like yourself. So that's why I started Black Uplift, because now I get to speak to, like, we had a woman from America talking about love coaching, and then another woman talking about the touch, how special it is to touch, and all these really unique, special guests coming on now. And I'm like, wow, I get to meet great people just because I offer this podcast, which is not really, it's a passion, I guess. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, man. I think we're gonna run over a little bit. Is there anything you want to add before we close up? In closing, on what specific? Is there anything specific on marketing or just in general? The thing is, I feel like we could keep talking, so I'm gonna have to get you back on the show because I got more questions. But I'm like, I try and keep these about an hour long.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh man, if I do another few questions, then we're probably gonna go over to like 2 hours. So let's do another show.
Okay, cool.
I'll book you back in. But maybe you can tell us about Day Tips. A little quick tips. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is time to plug the formula.
Plug yourself.
Okay, I'm gonna plug it, but in a way that teaches as well. Yeah. So obviously I've got this ebook right here with me, which I call it the formula. And I have it in 90% of my videos and courses. And that is my lead magnet. So obviously I talk about like how important it is to not just drive traffic to your site, but also to convert that. So you have to think about, like, marketing is all about like the mind as well, and understanding how people's brains work and what is going to make them want to make a buying decision. And one of the things is familiarity. Like, if someone is seeing your brand and your logo and your product for the very first time, normally they're not going to make a buying decision there. Like, all you have to do, I was going to say something that might have got me a little bit cancelled there, so I'm going to switch it up because we're in the cancel culture. But all you have to do is watch a person, they could be of any gender, shopping, and you will notice that they go to a product, they look at it, they look around, and then they come back to it again, and they might even leave the store and think about it, and then look at it online, and then they go back to the store, and then they make the purchase. So it's about hanging that product in front of them for a long enough time for them to get to a stage where they're ready to make a buying decision. So the reason why I've got this formula here is whether someone is seeing it consciously or subconsciously, when they go from my YouTube channel or an advert that they've seen of mine and they click on my website, they're now seeing that again for the second time, and it's familiarity. And they're like, oh, where have I seen that before? Oh, traffic plus conversions equals sales. Okay, cool. Let me go and download that. So even if they haven't gotten to like, let's say someone's watching this podcast and you leave a link to my channel or whatever, they don't get to this part of the podcast. They might have stopped watching it before this, but when they go to my website and check me out, they've subconsciously already seen that, and they're like, oh, where have I seen that? Let me download this. So the formula is my way of getting leads from loads of different places on the internet, from YouTube, my courses on LinkedIn, my courses on Udemy. I'm always referencing it. And you can kind of do the same thing as well. And I made it into a physical thing that people can see in my videos as well. So if you do download it, I made it very useful. So I speak about SEO, how to do it effectively. I speak about Facebook ads, how to run Facebook ads for your business, the Facebook pixel, what that's all about, where to install it, how to do conversion optimization. I speak about Google ads and what that's all about, and stuff like that. So email marketing is in there. Basically everything you need to know about, the basics to marketing your product or service online is within that formula, which is another tip. If you do have a lead magnet, make it really useful, so that people want to share it, and they'll be interested in what else you have to offer.
Excellently put, man. I'm going to download your ebook and read it, and then maybe the thing is, can I help someone like me who's just doing podcasting? Because I don't really sell anything at the moment.
100%. I mean,
sorry, shameless plug. I sell the t-shirts. Yeah, buy one of those.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think it depends on how you take the information and what you do with the information. Obviously, if you're focused on, if you're mainly focused on content marketing, then you're going to want to have a look at the more SEO side of things, and where I speak about social media marketing and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people, if they understood social media marketing a little bit better, and that was their main driver of, accumulating a fan base. I speak in the formula about, having or producing valuable content, because essentially it's your content that's going to get people subscribing or following and whatnot. So the 3 keys to valuable content is entertainment, education, or inspiration. Oh. So you need to understand what your content is doing to your target customer. Is it entertaining them? Is it educating them, or is it inspiring them? So if you're a Tony Robbins or a Eric Thomas, then your product is inspiring because they do seminars and whatever. So your content needs to inspire your target customer. And if your content is inspiring them, then they're going to subscribe and they're going to follow you. If you're like me and you do educational type stuff, then you need to make sure your content is heavily educational and people can come away thinking like, wow, I learned a lot kind of thing. And that will inspire them to go and buy your courses or buy your book or come to your training seminar or whatnot. But there's also entertainment. So like you mentioned, the YouTube boxing, like the KSIs, and the Jake Pauls, or, you know, if you are a comedian or something like that, or your product is some sort of game or toy or something like that, then your content needs to be entertaining as well to attract people who want to be entertained. And then you can sell to them on the back of that, or do sponsorship deals, or whatever it is you want to do. So the formula speaks about that kind of stuff as well. And I always answer questions. So when you download it, you get put on my email list. You can email me your questions that you have from it, or if I send you an email, you can always respond, and I reply to people. So it's quite an interactive community that I'm trying to build here.
All right, man. That sounds good, man. Just one last question before you give us your handles and stuff, where to find you. If I was to say, I need somebody to do my stuff, could I book you? Could I say, I need you to do my SEOs, my marketing and stuff? Could I book you?
So I have a team of people who help with marketing. So the very first step would be normally a meeting. So I can figure out what the needs are, what stage of the business you're at, and what your specific needs are. And if you do need SEO done for you, then I can kind of push you in the right direction of where to get that done. There's only a handful of people that I work with who I believe are the best in the game. So there's a possibility. Obviously, I can't service everybody, so that's why I normally put out my educational content. But there's depending on your budget, depending on where you are in the business, then I might be able to help to service you in some way.
That's excellent, man. All right, man. Sam Dey, I'm gonna have to check my finances before I book you, man. No, jokes aside, man. Hey, Sam Dey, give us all your handles, man. Where can we find you? Let everyone know where you can,
So the best place to find me is on YouTube. If you search for Dey Tips, or even just for Sam Dey. So Dey Tips is spelled DEYTIPS. I'm also on Instagram at DEYTIPS, so at Dey Tips. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Search for Sam Dey. My email address, sam@deytips.com, and my website, obviously, deytips.com, which is where you can get the formula. So those are my main platforms.
Yeah, man. Sam Dey, we made it. It's been a great day. No pun intended. Thanks for joining us, man. Remember, subscribe to you, man. If you need any help with traffic conversion, sales, marketing, this is your guy, man. Black Up Lips approved. Stamp of approval. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get you back on again. Obviously, we always need close guests back on. And a guy who looks a bit like me, could be my cousin.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Pleasure's all mine, man. Thanks for taking time out to speak to us, man, sharing your wealth, man. And I hope it helps a lot of people. All right. So on that note, catch up with you. See you later, man.
Take it easy.
Yo, peace.